Love, love, until I feel the breath of the Spirit flowing in me.
Hello, welcome to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Graham Watt. He's the State Member of Parliament for Burwood electorate. Welcome, Graham.
Thanks, Geraldine.
Welcome to our show, and it's great to have you here. Thanks for taking the time in your busy schedule.
No problem. It's enjoyable to be here.
Yes. How did you sort of have faith? Because I know that's been your background before you got into politics, and it's always been in your life. So, are you an Anglican? Is that right?
One of the first memories I have of going to church would have been I grew up in Western Australia, and Mount Tom Price was a nice country town I grew up in, and in North Tom Price there was an Anglican church there, and I can always remember singing in the Anglican church there with my family. So that's one of my earliest memories. I won't break out in song for you now though.
Has your faith been more a cultural thing that you grow up with, or has it something that a heartfelt thing that?
I think everybody in my family are Christians. I mean, we're all Anglicans. Both my parents and all of my sisters, or 10 sisters.
Wow!
So all of us are Anglican, and it's been part of my life.
And I hear that you went through challenging times in your early life, and were like in housing commission, lived in housing commission. What was that like?
Well, part of growing up, I did live in housing commission in Western Australia. Once again, in a suburb called Armidale. It's a low associated demographic area. But I think we all go through challenges in life, and we can make of ourselves what we want. I find that for me, some of the things that got me through was sport and also education. And it's about looking after people. I mean, I think there's a few people in my life that I can attribute, not just my parents, but also others in my life that I look at and see the giving that they gave to help me to be where I am today.
Yes. And what did you find like that helped you grew in your faith, in your spiritual walk?
For me, I think if you look at the book, the Bible, I think is there are people in life who don't necessarily look at the Bible and think it's the true word, but I think even if you look at the Bible and try to follow what it says, there are some good teachings in there, and many things in the Bible, whether or not you're a believer, will lead you to a good place. I think for me it's always been about myself and how I feel about being a good person, and if we strive to be a good person, then we can be good Christians, and if we're not a Christian, then depending on our religions.
Yeah, and what led you into politics? Did your faith influence you to have that desire to be in politics? Well,
the reasons I entered politics was based around giving people the opportunity, and I always wanted to help people to have opportunities in life, such as the opportunities I was given. And that's where I look at politics and how I got through that. And it's about trying to help people. I was just reading Isaiah the other day, and it was about helping the orphaned. I think the passage talks about seeking justice, helping the orphaned, helping the widowed. And I think that in life, we as politicians, but in people in general, should do what we can to help others. There's a great satisfaction in actually helping somebody who needs a bit of assistance, and I get to do that on a more of a larger scale as a politician.
Yes.
But it's something that we can all do in life.
What was your employment background before you got into politics?
Before I got into politics, I did a lot of sales, and then I started my own business. I did carpet cleaning for about 8 years.
Yes.
And that was my path before politics. But part of my background was also about sport, and I found an avenue through sport to be able to use my talents that I was given.
Yeah, what kind of sports did you play?
I did athletics when I was a teenager, and right through till late 20s I was into athletics. I'm a member of the Australian Centurions Club, which means that I've walked 100 miles within 24 hours.
Wow.
You know, talk about being tested. That's one of the tests that I went through. But you know, we all go through tests in life. Whether we lose somebody or whether we strive to achieve something, and we all need to progress through that and hopefully come out of it better people.
Yes. Must have, you sound like you've got those gifts in discipline and also social, you know, and selling, so you know, being able to be a people person, so it's sort of prepared you for politics?
Yeah, well, I hope that's the case, and I like speaking to people, I like assisting people, I like helping people, you know, and as I said, the passage Isaiah, it comes back to me when I think about what I do with life and what I want to do, and there are lots of people that need help, lots of people that we see a person fall down. Do we walk away, or do we go and help them get up and help them walk away from a situation?
Yeah, so you chose not to walk away, which, you know, sometimes people get very busy. We've got a religion of busy. Everyone's too busy, or, you know, have to go somewhere.
We are all very busy, but I think that it doesn't take much for us to sometimes step back and have a look and see how we are in life, and whether or not we're heading in the right path. And I think we all need to make time for reflection in our lives.
Yes, and action, which you've been like the Good Samaritan. You haven't, you know, walked past the people. You've sort of done something and
I hope
that's
what I continue to do, and that's in my heart. That's what I try to do in life, is to when somebody needs some assistance, that I'm there to help them. It's not always easy to know what the best thing to do is and the best way to help people, but I think the intention, we don't get punished for good intention. So if we do, then so be it. But I think that personal satisfaction for me, if you're happy and comfortable with what you've done in life, and you're happy and comfortable with where you're heading, then you should be comforted by that. Yeah,
it's fantastic. On that note, we'll get back to you soon, but we've got to go for a break. Stay with us, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Graham Ward. He's a State Member of Parliament for Burwood. Welcome back, Graham.
Thank you.
You were talking about how one of the significant things for you was seeing a need and not walking away, and you know, doing something about it. Would you like to share more how that, you know, came about? And
well, I've always, when I was younger, I got a lot of assistance from people that weren't necessarily, didn't have to help. I've one of my greatest friends is 88.
Wow.
I think he's 88 this year. He's going on to 89. He put a lot of time and effort into me as a youngster, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. I got a job when I was very young, and had some time put into me by another elderly gentleman who was a boss of mine. And I think that the assistance that I got growing up from people that didn't need to give me assistance, but found a way in their heart to actually help someone else.
That's fantastic.
And I think that leads me to say that, well, I need to pay back, to give back to other people. But also, when you come from a family of 11 kids, it's not so easy to be selfish. You can't expect to have everything your own way all the time. So I think part of that helps me to want to help others, and to understand that you can't just be insular all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where I come from. But I mean, in my job, I look at it and say, we get plenty of people come through the office who, on first appearance, appear as though they might be, I suppose, time wasters, some people might call them.
Yes.
But lots of those people have deep needs that if you take the time to sit and listen to them, you can understand why they're going through what they're going through, and how you can help them progress in life.
Yes.
And I think that's important. I think one of the greatest things we can do is to I talked about reflection before, taking time to reflect. But I think we can also, as human beings, if we take time to listen, then we can certainly understand what needs to happen and how we can help other people.
Oh, that's fantastic.
When I was growing up, I was always told that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much as we talk.
That's a good point.
Which is not too easy for a politician, I must say.
That's right.
But I think that's one of the things that I try to do is to listen to what other people are saying, so that we can help them find a way to improve themselves in life.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think what really stays in my brain was earlier on when you said that you had 2 men, older men, who really took an interest and time. And what did you think were the qualities that they had? Because I heard a book about us having a fatherless society. There's not enough male mentors or male fathers. So what do you think those qualities they had, which they gave you, that helped you?
I think for me it was just the willingness to actually help. I can remember I was young. I would have been 13 when I first met Stan, and he gave me some advice. Being a young 13-year-old kid, I thought he was a silly old man, but the perseverance and persistence for him to see a quality in somebody and to be able to help them to grow, I think that's probably where the both of them, for me, the compassion and the willingness to help and the want to actually help somebody.
Yes.
I grew up with a family. I have a father. It's not as though I wouldn't classify myself in that category at all as fatherless, but it's just having another role model or other male role models
that really helped.
That we're there to help.
It was because you were working that you had those relationships with them, or do they just come and visit you regularly?
Well, one was through sport. One gentleman was a coach of mine, and I was with him for probably 8 years as my coach. And the other, I started a job when I was about 14, and I was with him for 6 years. Who was my employer, and it was fantastic that opportunity to learn and to see people who are progressing and who are actually moving ahead with their life.
Yes, they were like mentors, sounds like that.
Yeah, fantastic mentors for me, and I'm blessed by that. But I also think that that's part of what I want to do, is I want to help people to see that there is there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are things you can do, and you can progress in society. I think we in society have issues where we do work in silos sometimes, and I think we need to try to break down those silos. And when it comes to religion, we talked about previously about religions, and I mean I'm an Anglican, but I send my kids to a Catholic school. My oldest is going to Salesians next year, and they are very inclusive. And Rob Brennan, the principal, the other day was talking about how inclusive the school is of all different denominations.
That's good.
And I'm a firm believer in, if you read the Bible and you take the word, it doesn't really matter whether you're Anglican or you're Catholic or you're Presbyterian or even Greek Orthodox. My father-in-law, Greek Orthodox, we celebrate, my kids and I get to celebrate Greek Easter, we get to celebrate Easter. But it's not for me about the timing around those things. It's about what does that represent, and how do we mix, not necessarily with each other, but mix with God and our faith.
Yes, you certainly have that openness and not that rigid. Sometimes religion for some people can be very rigid, and so it's great. And what you've learned as a boy, it's great.
Yeah, well, I think that sometimes not everybody's going to agree with me, but I think that you don't need to be rigid with whether you go to an Anglican church or a Catholic church.
Yes.
The teachings are essentially the same, and I'm comfortable to go to a Greek Orthodox church or an Anglican church or any church, and know that hopefully I'm going to be welcomed into that community, so that I can join in, and that's what I try to do, and I'm comfortable to do that in any setting.
Yes. No, that's definite. That it's great to have that openness, because there's need for interfaith and interdenominational. On that note, we will need to go for a break. You're watching Spirit of Life, Stay with us and we'll be back in a few minutes. Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee and our guest is Graham Watt. He is a Member of Parliament for the electorate of Burwood, Victoria. Welcome.
Thanks,
Graham. You've been talking very passionately and I've really enjoyed it about, your desire to help community. And so how do you get involved in politics? Because it sounds like politics is very much community to you.
Yeah. Well, I firstly, I can remember I was having a discussion with my mother only a couple of months ago and asked her what was the job that I wanted to do when I was growing up, and she said to me there's only one thing I ever wanted to do. The only thing I've ever wanted to do was be a politician, and for me that it wasn't necessarily about the glory of being a politician, but being able to lead the way and show people what we can do and to be able to assist the community. And so I think that if you want to get involved in politics, part of what you need to do is get more involved in the community, whether it's, I was on the board of a senior citizens organisation or getting involved in the school community or assisting with local sporting clubs. If you have a passion for assisting the community, then you should get involved and assist the community, and then if you can find your way through politics, then that's a good path. But for me, it's always been about what I can do for the community rather than what the community can do for me.
That's fantastic. And what were some of the steps you took that led you to be a Member of Parliament today? Well,
I originally came from Western Australia, and I have a large family in Western Australia. Most of my immediate family, or all of my immediate family, is still in Western Australia. And I came over here. My path led me to Victoria so that I could take up sport. And when I got here, I got involved in a political party, and got married, and then started getting involved in some of the community-based activities through my children, such as this local school. The kids go to St Michael's Parish School in Ashburton, and I got involved with the PFA there, or even just I saw the ability to get involved with the Ashburton Support Services, which is a senior citizens organisation. So I got involved there. And one of the other things that led me through politics is the community involvement around local policing, and that was a big thing for the local community out here, is our local police station, and I got involved with making sure that the community was heard about their views on the police station.
Yes.
And that's how I then managed to invigorate my passion for politics, my passion for the community, even though, as I said before, I've always known that this is something that I've wanted to do. It's always been a passion of mine. And I suppose that came from my background, where I grew up, and being in public housing and seeing all of my family, and seeing that there wasn't necessarily the drive that was coming from them from somebody giving them or showing the way and leading a leading light. And so I felt that I, as a member of the family, as a member of the community, could lead that way. And it's interesting to see how the family's progressing, and they're all making something of themselves now. Yeah,
because, I suppose coming from a social work background, I've seen sometimes generations of families who, once they into public housing, you have they end up always in public housing, you end up sometimes being on pensions, and it's sort of like 3 or 4 generations, but it hasn't been for your family. It's there is this cycle of poverty, and it's known that there is this cycle of poverty, and that's one of the things that I want to be able to help to do as a politician, is to break that cycle of poverty. There's the talk of the whole handout mentality, or the hand up mentality, and I'm very much a person that says if you give people a hand up,
to lift themselves out of their personal circumstances. And people in public housing are as intelligent, as worthwhile for the community as anybody in society. And I don't cast any aspersions on any person, no matter where they're from. We all have the ability. It's just a matter of whether we have the opportunity. And as a Member of Parliament, I want to be able to give people the opportunity to actually progress in life.
Yes. And how does your faith come into, with the work you do? How do you connect that?
Well, there's many things we do in Parliament that you need to be able to sit back and reflect and see whether or not that fits with your faith and whether you're comfortable within yourself with what you're doing. And I think that's important to make sure that we do have this something in the consciousness. We have something here that says, is it the right thing to do? Are we actually being true to ourselves? Are we actually being true to the Word? And I think that is, if we keep that in mind, and I like the fact that every day we go into Parliament, we start with Lord's Prayer. I think that's fantastic. And I think it's great that the vast majority of politicians still to this day take the oath. And from my side of politics, we all essentially take the oath, and we all hold the Bible in our hands to do that. And I think that's fantastic.
Yes, no, especially with Australia becoming quite secularised or materialised, or it's good to have that faith thing and put your hand on the Bible. It
is. I mean, but I also look at it and say that although I'm a Christian, I look at it and say that if we are all true to ourselves and true to what we believe, and there are others, I've spoken to others from different religions recently, and I don't know of any particular religion that wants to go out there and do harm. And there are some good teachings from the Bible that we could all learn through society. And I was talking about earlier about some of the teachings in the Bible, and we all learn. There are things in society that feed through society that.
I may have to stop you there, but what we'll do is we'll invite you back, because you've got so much to say, and I've got so much questions to ask you. So. So we'd like to have you back next time.
No problem.
But thank you so much for being on our program, and God bless you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for watching Spirit of Life. Join us next week. Goodbye, and God bless you.